Hello everybody and welcome. We are doing a review. I am here with Chunk the Punk. Chunk, say hi.
Hey, you guys.
And we're going to talk about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and you're going to want to listen to this because it's awesome. And not awesome at the same time, but it's a ton of fun, so that's all that matters. I personally like to grade games on their fun, their gameplay, their characters, the story, and their difficulty. But it's Pokemon, so we're going to talk about Pokemon that you can catch in the game. We're going to talk about your gym leaders. We're going to talk about our villains. We're going to talk about the new Terra raids. We're going to talk about all things Pokemon in this review. And let's just start off with the Pokemon we can catch. So, Chunk, you have the decks completely filled, right?
Ooh, thanks partly because of your help.
Yes, because we have different versions in order to fill out the Pokedex. Who's your favorite Pokemon in this game so far?
That's really like a subjective question because I do have so many favorites in this game. You know, I have Salamence, you have Tyranitar, Garchomp, Gallade, Gardevoir, like all these really awesome Pokemon. But if I had to base it like off of all the new Pokemon, I gotta go with it's either Cerulege or Baxcalibur. They're both really awesome.
So for those of you that don't know, one is a Ice Dragon and the other one is a Fire Ghost type.
Yeah.
I'm going to say my favorite is Fuecoco, and that's why I've wasted so many hours at As you can see in the game right now, I am shiny hunting the Fuecoco. We have a whole bunch of Pokemon to catch. There are 400 in the game. You get to ride your legendary, and there is a good amount of new Pokemon in the game.
I was just gonna say, maybe that's a good question. Like, what do you think about this new generation just as a whole? Out of all the new Pokemon that they introduce, how would you say that all these new Pokemon, how based on their designs and how they perform in battle, if you ever tried to battling with any of them, like how do they stack up to other generations that we might have played?
Well, I'm going to say I don't like any of the starters but Fuecoco. The fact that it's Quaxly is a duck and then becomes like a peacock at the end, I really dislike that. I don't like how he plays. I don't like the cat.
I gave up on my duck at like level 50 something. I just gave up on him. I couldn't jive with him. I think the cat is probably the best option in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't really like the cat. It is a grass dark, so it's kind of cool, and the design's cool. All the other grass starters I like better in the games I've played. I didn't get to play White and Black, so I don't know their starters. And then I haven't played Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. But I've played all the other ones, and I've liked all the other grass starters better. It might be because I don't like cats. There could be a bias there. Oh my god, I'm trying to hatch eggs and I didn't switch them out. Cerulege is fucking awesome.
That, in my opinion, like, this generation is pretty solid. It's not as good as some of the other generations. Obviously, you know, you got Gen 1, which is always nostalgic and a classic gen. Even Gen 2 might be a little bit better.
Gen 2's
you know,
the best,
Gen,
man.
yeah. To me personally, like Gen 3 and 4 are probably up there in one of my favorites. But this generation is by far better than, say, like Gen 5, which was Black and White, or even Gen 7, which was Sun and Moon.
Yeah, Sun and Moon only had the Alolan that were cool.
Yeah, I really didn't care for either one of those. So so this generation is somewhere in the middle as far as, I mean, not the game, but just the new Pokemon that they introduce. I would say that these rank somewhere in the middle of the list. It's solid, but it's not. It could be a little bit better.
So we have a question. Could a casual player play it for the gameplay alone, or is the story alone and enjoy it without confusion? So, because this is an open world and they tell you can do it in any order, that is actually not true from what we played. Like, every gym has like a set level, so if you go there way before you're ready, you get stomped. Like,
yeah,
like we did with the ice one, which I feel like is the hardest gym. The fairy one was hard too, but like the ice one, I was down to one Pokemon.
Yeah, because during our gameplay, we played through the entire game in co-op, me and Biggles. And we did do some things out of order, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't until we got up towards like the ice gym and maybe like the final Titan where we really saw like a spike all of a sudden. So yeah, it seems like basically the further north that you go on the map, the more difficult it gets. And generally, like, you can see on your map the different zones. It'll say like area 1, area 2, area 3, and that gives you like a general kind of difficulty level of not only like the wild Pokemon that are spawning in that area, but also the trainers and maybe the gyms that are nearby. The difficulty spike seems to be go from south up to north.
Yeah, and also, yeah, like the gameplay's very easy. You just pick your abilities that work. There's a lot of small little details that you'll have to go through later, like IVs and EVs and all that other stuff, which items to use and everything. So, what do you think of the IV system in this? Is it similar to all the other ones, or what would you say?
It's kind of similar to past games, but recently they make it so easy to just jump in. You can find bottle caps in stores that you can just buy to raise your IVs. You can buy vitamins in store to raise your stats. They really make it, not only in this game, but in past games as well, to just take any Pokemon that you catch and change the stats however which way you want it. So it's like it doesn't even matter going out and catching 50 of the same Pokemon trying to get one of it that has good stats, to where, you know, you can just catch one, and then if you have the money and you know where to find these items, you can change your nature, buy some bottle caps, but they're more towards the end game. They make it so easy for people to just take whatever Pokemon that they want and completely change it. You can change your abilities. It used to be more complicated in past games, but just with more recent entries, they make it a lot easier to do all that.
We have a question. What do we think is the best feature of the game? For me, it's always been the gym battles. The gym battles are not as cool in this one, but I like gym battles. The gyms are probably the things you want to do first, but a lot of them you can't get to without doing the Titan, so you got to make sure you do the Titan, which were pretty cool add-on as well in this one.
Yeah, the Titans are cool, but one thing about the gyms, though, it's not so much the trainers and the Pokemon that they use that, you know, seem kind of disappointing. It's the tests that they put you through. They put you through these mundane tests that are so easy that a 3-year-old can do. And I hate it when Nintendo does that. They treat their entire player base like their children, you know? It's like, no, give us challenging tests, you know, make us really have to, you know, kind of prove ourselves if we want to take on the gym leader. Instead, you know, it's like, oh, you play hide and seek with this one guy, and you have to go to this one town and give this guy his wallet. You know, it's like silly little things. I don't know. It really didn't gel with me. But in my opinion, some of the best new features in this game is how they brought back some of the exploration mechanics with your ride Pokemon. They made it a lot easier to run around, kind of just fly around wherever you want, swim wherever you want, climb wherever you want.
Yeah, I'm kind of showing that off now. Here's me flying, super speed, jump high, and then we'll find this one right here.
Yeah, because everything is attached to one Pokemon instead of being spread out between several like it was in Legends Arceus. It makes it so much easier to just get on your ride Pokemon and just go wherever you want. So I think that feature is also really good, but also the Terra Raids. The Terra Raids is probably one of the best things in this game. So much better than the raid system in Sword and Shield, because in Sword and Shield, no matter what, if any of your team faint 4 times, it's game over. So if you go in with a team that's really low level or they don't really know what they're doing, it's like you're not going to be able to do anything. But now they made it so much more kind of like Pokemon Go, where it's based on time, but every time somebody faints, it removes just a little bit of that time. In my opinion, it's so much better than Sword and Shield, and it's one of the most fun activities that you can do in this game, and you unlock it probably just a few hours in gameplay. So it's right there from the very beginning, and you just go out, explore, find these dens, and you can find them online too if you connect to the internet, and just battle away, and it's really fun.
Yeah, terror raids are great for leveling up too. We leveled some of our friends super fast by taking them into high levels, and then they just use the rare candies and they would like 30 levels off the bat. If you have friends that are new to the game, it's very easy to like take them with you in terror raids and complete them. Let's talk about the worst feature. For me, I think it's the fact that this is like, the game is a school and everything is based on a test. Oh, you have to take a test before you fight the Elite Four. You have to take a test before you fight the gyms. You have to go to school and take the tests after 3 classes, a final after 6 classes. You get some rare candies, you get Steel Meow from the last game, but it's so boring. It's so boring.
The school is ultimately pointless in the long run. Like, the only thing I would see that the school is really good for is to teach new players some of the mechanics, and especially like if you are kind of really engaged in the story, like there is some lore to be learned. But I would say it's mainly for the new players that may have never played a Pokemon game before, that they don't know what type matchups are and what attacks go to which stat, all those other things. But yeah, ultimately the school is pointless. I ended up, as soon as I arrived, I did all the things I needed to do just to progress the story, and I got out and I never got back to it.
Yeah, I actually am almost done with the school. I actually did learn a lot from it, but it's just so boring that I hate it. I did get some cool stuff out of it, so I don't mind. And I have to go talk to the art teacher, so it tells me where all the legendary Pokemon are and like the entrances for the shrine. The game is very good. There's a lot of bugs. You get like frame drops like crazy. The jumping is kind of junky. There's a lot of funny ass bugs in this game. But, like, the gameplay is so much fun.
Let's talk about that. Let's address some of the issues with some of the bugs.
Well, before we do bugs, Lock-On asked, what do you think they could do to make the school much more interesting? Voice acting. Give us some voice acting, because otherwise I'm just reading text and I'm dyslexic and I can't read very well.
Yeah, especially since at the end of each class, you're presented with a question to make sure that you're paying attention, and it doesn't matter if you get it wrong or right, but later when you're taking these classes, eventually you will have a midterm test and a finals exam, and you will need to know a lot of the information that you learned in these classes in order to pass these tests. Pokemon, please, Gen 10, let us have voice acting, please.
So, we want to talk about the bugs and what we think we could do to fix them, I guess. There's a lot of bugs where the world, like, just, like, drops, like, massive frame rates. So,
yeah, especially, yeah, make a better Switch. Definitely, like, especially in places where there's some harsh weather conditions. You know, you got rain, you got snow, you got sandstorms. There's, like, a lot of particle effects going on, and it really seems to put a restriction on that frame rate, and it just drops in a lot of areas. But otherwise, it's not so bad to where the game is unplayable or anything, but it can get annoying in some areas.
Do need a little better servers as well for their internet. They have like the worst internet connection servers I've ever seen, and I have played.
Well, that's Nintendo.
I have played on high-res servers for multiple years playing Smite, which before I played Nintendo Online, I thought were the worst fucking servers of all time, and these servers are way worse. For me to say that takes a lot. It takes a lot for me to say that these are worse than high-res servers.
Yeah, it's mainly to do with Nintendo just not having very good online infrastructure. Trying to find online terror raids is next to impossible, or, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, the online definitely needs to be better, but that's more on Nintendo side, not necessarily on the Pokemon side. Yeah, on Game Freak and all.
What other bugs are there? Oh, terror raids. When you're playing on terror raids, sometimes the Pokemon will be dead and it's still attacking you. Like, the Pokemon will have no health and you'll still get attacked and stuff. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I think that's another lag issue that can be fixed by Nintendo side rather than Game Freak.
Yeah, I haven't really ran into some of the other bugs. Like, you see memes people post that characters' eyeballs are sticking out of their head and, like, their arms are super extended and all this other stuff. Like, I never came across any of that during my gameplay whatsoever. My only issues that I've ever faced were the frame rate, which we already discussed, the online lag, and some of the issues with that. But mainly with me, the most annoying ones are when sometimes my character will get stuck and I can't move, I can't bring up a menu, I can't bring up the map and fly anywhere. Like, I get stuck and I just have to force the game to close and then restart it. And then there's also the crashes. I've crashed maybe in, I'm just guessing, probably 100 hours of gameplay. I've crashed like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I only crashed once, and it was on stream when I had it saved for an hour, and I thought I had been, like, saving periodically. And I had to hatch another 45 eggs. So if you know anything, eggs take forever to hatch. And I had to redo 45 eggs. And I cried myself to sleep that day. It was awful.
Yes.
So we have another question that says, how good is the game story compared to the past game? Now, I don't really pay attention to most Pokemon stories. It's just like, go around and catch Pokemon for me. But, like, you get the villains, and you find out all the stuff about the villains. I don't really want to spoil any of that. But it's like, it makes sense when you look at the villains. Why what happens to them happens, and why they're considered the villains. And then the main story where you're like with Nimona, Arvin, and even the Team Star, you end up getting like a huge plot twist at the end. Now, if you're really paying attention, it does a great job of foreshadowing.
In my opinion, though, especially compared to some of the other games, the story is okay. I never really got too deep into it, especially when we're playing with co-op and we're just kind of trying to get to the end somewhat quick, and we're just kind of mashing through dialogue. I kind of speed read it, you know. I try to pick out some words in there, but ultimately the story, it's okay. It's not the greatest. For me, though, it's more got to do with the characters. In my opinion, a lot of these characters, ranging from the people that you meet in school, the teachers, the gym leaders, the Team Star members, you know, a lot of these characters, they're pretty forgettable, especially Penny. In my opinion, Penny, who's a character that you meet somewhat early in the game, she's just the worst.
Yeah, I actually like Nimona. Nimona is your rival in this game, and she's just so positive about everything, and she's like, I just want to be a better Pokemon trainer. Will you be my friend and be a Pokemon trainer with me? She's like very go-getting, right? And then she's helpful in some of the double battles too.
Yeah, Nimona is, yeah, she's one of the better characters in this game, as well as Arvin, which Biggles is about to introduce here.
Yeah, so Arvin is the guy who you work with in the Titans. He's also related to the professor guy you have to help out throughout the game that has to do with your legendary. He's dealing with, I guess, daddy issues, and I guess in Scarlet it's mommy issues. He's a good character. He gets closure in the end, and it's really good. And then for the gym leaders, there's a rapper, old lady rapper. Her rhymes are awful. It's so funny.
Cringe. It's so cringe.
It's the funniest shit ever. And like at one point it's like, are you here for a gym battle or a rap battle? And I was like, I'm here for a rap battle. And they're like, no, you're not. I was so ready to throw rhymes against this chick to like see if I could win the badge without Pokemon to play. And then there's a streamer girl who's the electric gym leader.
She's like a VTuber type.
Yeah, well, that's because they're like, they're not real people, so she's definitely a VTuber. I actually really like her. She wears like really big clothes and they have like Pokemon on it. I like her. I know a lot of people hate her, but I like her. So the characters I really like, I like the characters other than like Penny, Arvin's dad I don't really like. I don't like Clive. What is it? Clive? Is this... What he's like,
Clive.
yeah, Clive / Clavel, yeah. They're like, that's a he's like, oh no, like if people think that's a spoiler, then you didn't realize that they look exactly the same with a different hairstyle. He's clearly wearing a wig, and he talks the same way too. So, but yeah, my favorite Pokemon in terms of design, I kind of went over it a little earlier. It's Ceruledge. He's the reason why I bought Violet in the first place. So it's this one right here. This is my favorite design of the Pokemon in this one. But I think it's just awesome. I also really like this fairy type with the big hammer. I named it after Amber. I really hate the design of the duck starter.
My favorite design, I can't really say because it's one of the late game Pokemon. I'll just say Ceruledge. He's cool. Everybody likes him.
Alright, let's talk about the Team Star battles and how Team Star battles work because it's ridiculous.
Team Star, the way that you take these guys on, it's very untraditional of a Pokemon game because in this Pokemon game, there's a feature that is called auto battles, and what it does is that whoever's your lead-off Pokemon in your party, just by pressing the right bumper button on your controller, you aim at whatever you're locked onto, or just you're just standing next to them, just in general. And you hit that button and you send it out and it'll battle it automatically and knock it out. You'll get a slight amount of XP and some materials and stuff. But use that mechanic to take on these Team Star members. And they go all out. They send, was it like 30 Pokemon or more?
You have to beat 30 Pokemon. And I actually really like that part. And then you get to the boss and I hate it again.
Yeah, you have a big boss fight at the end of it, and it's wild.
So auto battling looks like this. Boom. Let's see if this electro blows up right there.
Yeah, but you have to do this this mechanic for most of that fight, and it's a lot of fun. It's very short-lived. It doesn't last very long, but it is a lot of fun. You know, if it just feels like you're going to war with these guys, and you're just sending out your team and just stomping through them. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I really like that. And then you get to the boss and you fight a car.
Yeah.
Like, what? No! Stop it! We were having so much fun with all the auto battling, and now we have to fight a car. The lock-on in this game is awful compared to the last game. Now, I didn't play the last game. Do you want to talk about the lock-on feature?
Yeah, the lock-on feature in Arceus works way better than it does in this game, because Arceus, you just kind of have to be just generally within range of the Pokemon in order to lock onto it. In this one, when you hit your left trigger to lock on, or it has some other functions, but mainly like you zoom in a little bit and your character moves off to the left side of the screen. It's kind of like you're in like a third person mode, and it's really dependent on where you're aiming at. It's not like in Legends Arceus where it just locks on to whatever's in range of you. This one you have to look very specifically at just the right angle to lock onto it, and it's very finicky at a lot of time.
It gets really bad when they're all in the same spot too. So you'll get like groups of like 5, and then you're looking for a certain one. Like, let's say there's a shiny in there, and sometimes it will constantly log onto the wrong one. So you're like trying to walk in there so you can pick one up.
I do want to specify this to a lot of people who might have played Legends Arceus and now who are jumping to this game. It's very important to know, and it is somewhat disappointing, but I think that style of gameplay fits more with Arceus than it does with this game. But one feature that they did not carry over to this game is the ability to just throw a Pokeball at a wild Pokemon. You can't just run up to a Pokemon, throw a Pokeball, and catch it without battling it. In this game, you have to encounter it, and you can use, you have like quick balls that you can use on turn 1 to just, throw, and hopefully you get just a quick catch without having to weaken it. But it is more of that traditional formula where you have to battle it in order to catch it.
And I actually like that better. I know other people don't. If I'm going against a shiny, I wish I could just throw a Pokeball at it and catch it, to be honest. Because I always knock out stuff that I shouldn't. That's why you turn off autosave then.
Yeah.
And then you save or you restart your game. That's how shinies work. Ah.
Yeah.
So we've talked about Team Star, we've talked about gym battles, we've talked about the Titans for a little bit. Basically went over what they were. We've gone story, we've gone Pokemon types that we can, and we've gone over bugs. What else Pokemon specific is there, or should we just go into the ways I grade Pokemon games?
The only thing I can think of is what do you think about the new picnic mechanic and the sandwiches and how they work?
Ah, yes. Okay, so there's a new feature called sandwiches. It doesn't really help you. I've taken the home ec class and they'll tell me some stuff, but the home ec class doesn't do a good enough job telling you what to use for what. So basically, you're looking it up on the internet. You get a lot of people that are incorrect on what they tell you. You get a lot of guides that are incorrect what they tell you. So it's basically you go in and try to find a sandwich that they have. There's some shiny sandwich guides that are great. But I've been trying to look for egg guides to get like a 3, and I haven't found any. But I really love the picnic. Before this stream started, I was hatching eggs, and I had my Pokemon listening to Marvin Gaye so they'd make more babies. You know, because Marvin Gaye is a baby-making machine with his music. So I had my Pokemon listening to Marvin Gaye. We were all set, and I bought an exercise ball, so I don't have a soccer ball, because I don't like soccer. So I was playing with my Pokemon, playing with the soccer ball. So I actually have a lot of fun at picnics. Like if I'm with Chunk, I can use one of his evolve forms, and I can put my Ditto in, and we can make eggs that way. We can throw our ball. We have all our Pokemon. As long as I don't have a Ditto out, I don't have to worry about eggs. I have all these Fuekokos, so it looks like they're all hatched. I have a whole bunch of little baby Fuekokos, and like you can wash them. It's a lot of fun. But he's talking about the sandwiches, so you go make a sandwich, and as you go through the towns, you go into different sandwiches. They give you all these different recipes, and like you can get catching power. So like if you're trying to catch a ghost Pokemon, you have a better chance. This one will spawn more bugs, creator mode, and then you can just like make your own kind of sandwich, right? And I don't know what this would boost, and you just make your own sandwich, and then you put them all together. So we'll see what this boost does.
Yeah, you can see on the screen how many different ingredients there are, and there are a lot of ingredients that you can buy in shops, and they all have different effects depending on which one they are.
And you have 10 minutes to make your sandwich.
Yeah.
So I have like a lettuce, tomato, and then I'm going to put more lettuce on this. So yeah, this is a lot of fun. I actually really enjoy this feature. And I'll make sandwiches a lot. I just used a lot of my ingredients, which I probably shouldn't have. We'll come back. Oh, I just threw that lettuce on the ground on accident.
It's a Subway simulator.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of fun. Don't knock it till you try it, boys and girls. I have a blast. Throw your bread on, and then like everything falls off, and you get a pick. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Oh, and your Pokemon level, all those Fuekokos just leveled up to 4. Let's go over how I grade games. I grade it on the gameplay. Now, the gameplay is tried and true. So, turn-based games are what I love. There's some junky mechanics in it, but overall, I think the gameplay is still top-notch. That's why I played this Pokemon game and not Arceus. What do you think, Chunk?
Yeah, I would have to say, overall, I had a really fun time playing it, and it was even more fun because I had a friend to play through the whole thing alongside with, which is a first in the series because this is the first game that you can have like a 4-player co-op feature where you're just running around the world together. So that makes it a lot of fun. And this was one of the more fun Pokemon games I have played. Despite the issues, you know, with the frame rate and crashes and all that other stuff, it's not as bad as people make it out to seem. Very fun game in my opinion. Great for hardcore fans of the series as well as to new players. I think new players can easily jump on this and have a really good time. So I would have to probably give it a pretty solid 8 out of 10 for me.
For fun or gameplay?
For both. You know, it's fun. Being able to get on your ride Pokemon, go wherever you want, and the gameplay, going back to that traditional turn-based battle system, and you know how the catching mechanic works. It's very familiar, but it's also kind of fresh at the same time. But it's a lot of fun, especially when you have a good friend to play with, whether it's a couch co-op or you know you're rolling with the squad on Discord and talking to one another and just having fun that way. It's a lot of fun.
When I'm not playing with you guys, I'm playing with my 6-year-old nephew on the couch playing. For me, it's a shit ton of fun. Give it a 10 on the fun scale. I will give it a 10 on the gameplay. Story's about a 6. Difficulty, it was kind of hard for me, so I'm going to say difficulty was about an 8. I grade with letters. I give it like you're in school, and because this is a game where you are a character in school and it revolves around tests and everything, I'm going to give it a grade due to all the bugs and the story not being the best, but it did have good foreshadowing, and I did enjoy the twist at the end. I'm going to give it a B-. And I do recommend the game. I have hundreds of hours into it now, and it's a fucking blast. So go ahead, get the game, deal with the bugs because they're funny as fuck. Add me on Switch. We can play. We can. Me and Chunk are more than happy to take you into Terra battles and help you level up faster. So that's it for the review. Chunk, is there anything you want to say before we just go into our stream?
Not much more for me. I would say if you are planning on picking this game up, whether it's, you know, as soon as you watch this or maybe later down the road, maybe this review helped you out. I hope it did. But if you decide to get this and you got young ones or you got family, maybe you have 2 Switches in your home, buy 2. But this is a really good game to play with friends, whether it's online or a couch co-op with a family member or a friend or somebody.
But yeah, it's a shit ton of fun. I recommend it.